Dear friends, welcome to this week's virtual Drasha. This week we have the incredible privilege to read Parshas Devarim, to begin Chumash Devarim. And so much of this Chumash is devoted to Moshe Rabbeinu preparing us for this next chapter of our national existence, entry into Eretz Yisrael. And even though our beloved shepherd will not lead the flock into the land, that is going to be done by his devoted disciple Yoshua. Moshe Rabbeinu does anything and everything in his power to properly prepare us for the journey ahead and for this next chapter of our national existence. And Moshe Rabbeinu does that by reviewing what's happened, what's gone right, what's gone wrong, and as well as giving us again additional mitzvos and musar and proper hadracha and proper, again, instilling within us a proper mindset for how to be successful, not just for entry into Eretz Yisrael, but how to be successful as a nation in the years ahead. But the truth is, this parsha always takes on an additional level of meaning, because Parshas Devarim is always read on the Shabas before Tisha B'Av. And in fact, this Shabas is known as Shabas Chazon, the Shabas of vision, which of course comes from the Haftorah that begins with the words Chazon Yishayahu ben Amos Asher Chaza Yehuda v'Yerushalayim. So ultimately, again, this Haftorah, heartbreaking Haftorah, the vision of Yeshayahu speaking about the transgressions and the subsequent punishments of Klal Yisrael as a result of a lack of obedience to the word of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to the dictates of the relationship. And this Shabbos, I've always found this Shabbos such an interesting thing, because Shabbos for so many of us is like, it's a day of renewal. It's a day of kavod, a day of oneg, a day to re-energize and re-solidify our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's a day in which we're able to kind of leave the difficulties of Sunday through Friday behind and just be able to focus on the beauty of Kehillah, the beauty of the neshama. If a person is zochet to have a family, the beauty of family, the beauty of learning, we're able to just kind of leave the world behind and just focus on the beauty and the purity in this world. And Shabbos Chazon comes in. Shabbos Chazon kind of brings the pain and the difficulty of these days, of the 9 days, even into Shabbos. It's almost as if that the pain of these days is so acute and is so palpable that you can't escape it. It comes with you everywhere. Normally Shabbos, even when a person is Rahman al-Islam sitting Shiva, right? Shabbos comes and at least the external displays of mourning are lifted. It's almost, this is a similar dynamic. We come to the Shabbos and we can eat meat and we could drink wine and we can engage in some of the other activities that were prohibited during the week. But yet at the end of the day, there are elements of sadness that follow us into this Shabbos. And I think this year, the 9 days, Shabbos Chazon, and certainly Tisha B'Av, is going to be a dramatically different experience for all of us. Because whereas on Tisha B'Av, we normally have to struggle to tap into the dynamic of Jewish suffering, being that this Tisha B'Av follows on the heels of October 7th, that this Tisha B'Av will be commemorated in the midst of an ongoing war for Klal Yisrael, that this Tisha B'Av will be commemorated while still more than 100 of our brothers and sisters languish in captivity, their whereabouts and their condition unknown in Gaza. It's overwhelming. And the truth is, since October 7th, there's not a week that goes by, I feel, that on one hand, we are filled with so much chizuk, so much strength when you see the beauty and the profundity of our people, but yet not a week goes by that our pain is also not amplified. And sometimes it's more obvious and sometimes it's more nuanced. And it struck me this week, this past Monday, one of the hostages, a little boy by the name of Ariel Bibas, turned 5 years old. Ariel Bibas, together with his little brother Kfir, and together with their parents, are being held captive by our enemies. A little boy. It's hard to even think about that we're saying this sentence, that a Jewish boy turned 5 years old in captivity. He's being held hostage together with his little brother, 1-year-old Kfir. It doesn't make sense to say those words, but yet they're a reality for us. And it was very moving to see how thousands of people gathered together in Tel Aviv to go ahead and celebrate this little boy's birthday. Ariel Bibas is that beautiful little red-headed baby who loved Batman, who loves Batman, and who probably just wanted a childhood like everyone else. And so it was really very heartwarming to see the thousands of people who gathered together to mark this occasion of his birthday. And it struck me, birthdays are days of such celebration. And birthdays are days, especially for little children, wondering, what are my parents going to get me? What's going to be the gift? And if a person is privileged to have grandparents who hopefully spoil them, what are the grandparents going to get them? What are the parents going to get them? And what's going to happen in school, or what's going to happen in camp? And there's so much excitement and so much joy. Who knows if this little boy even knew that it was his birthday? Who knows what this little boy knows or what he doesn't know? Who knows what a Jewish 5-year-old little boy, who knows what conditions he is living in these very moments that we are speaking in. And it struck me, it conjured up for me a different memory. I remember that as a child, my grandfather, Zichrono Livracha, who himself was a survivor who lost everything. I remember he always used to joke with us, when it would be time for one of the grandchildren's birthdays. So my Bubby would say to him, no, give the children something for their birthdays. And my grandfather Zichrono Livracha would always joke. He said, celebrating birthdays is not the Yiddish Zach. He said it's not the Jews don't celebrate birthdays. What was his big raya? What was his big proof to this? So he always said the Torah Kedosha only brings up a birthday one time in the entire Torah. And who is it brought up by? Yom Huledes Paro. It's the only time the Torah mentions a birthday is by Paro. So my grandfather would always joke, you see, that it's not a Yiddish Zach, it's not a Jewish thing. Jews don't celebrate birthdays, only Paro celebrates birthdays. And he would try to get out of giving us a birthday present. Now, of course, we went through this every single year. And then afterwards, again, the wallet would open up and a very generous birthday present would come out for each of his beloved grandchildren. But that idea always stuck with me. That why is it that the only time that the Torah Kedosha ever mentions birthdays is by Paro? And it struck me, I asked my grandfather this once later on. I don't think he gave me an answer, but it's always bothered me. And I thought that perhaps the idea is as follows. A birthday is beautiful because it represents another year. And there is no greater gift that a person could have in this world than another year of life. To thank HaKadosh Baruch for the year that's gone by, and to hope that Emir Tashem Nivashim will grant me another year. But there's a danger in birthdays. The danger in birthdays is that the older we get, the more set in our ways we become. That the older we get, the more resistant to change we become. And this is a very scary thing. I think we see it in ourselves. It's certainly easy to see it in others, much less likely that we see it in ourselves. But the older we get, the more ingrained our behaviors become. It's kind of like lahavdil, everybody has that relative who at the family gathering, always says the same jokes. Okay, at first you laugh, and then you think to yourself, why can't you get a new joke? Right? Why the same one? Just, for God's sake, just Google something. Just look up something else. Just be mechadesh something new. And at a certain point, it goes from a forced laughter to almost like a sadness. Really? That's all you got? You can't come up. And lahavdil, so many of us get into that rut in our own lives, where the older I get, this is the personality I have. This is the way I do things. This is the schedule. These are my strengths. These are my weaknesses. And I get used to saying, okay, I'll play to my strengths. The weaknesses, I can't do anything about them. They've been around for so long. So I've always thought that perhaps that's why the Torah Kedosha doesn't mention a birthday, because the truth is, what was the downfall of Paro? The downfall of Paro was that he became fundamentally and totally entrenched in his ways. He was immovable. That even faced with incontrovertible proof that what he was doing was wrong and it was going to lead to his demise and the demise of his people, he refused to pivot. So there's a danger to birthdays, that the older we get, the more entrenched in our ways we become, and the more resistant to change we are. And this is perhaps one of the greatest challenges of the human condition. We are creatures of habit, and we settle into living a certain way, acting a certain way, behaving a certain way, and that's it. But the beauty of a Yid, the beauty of a Jew, the beauty of having a neshama is that change is always possible, that you could transform yourself into anything and everything you want, and to lose out on that opportunity of change is to deprive yourself of the very thing which defines life. The beauty of life, you know what the difference between life and death is? When you die, you cannot change. But as long as you are alive, there is that ability to transcend. There is that ability to transform. There is that ability to become different. So I thank my grandfather every day for teaching me. Again, he was doing it as a joke, as a way to get out of giving a birthday present. He wasn't really, but he liked to chaper us a little bit. And I thank him for this incredible pearl of wisdom, because not a day goes by that I don't think about this. That at the end of the day, the birthdays are beautiful, but there's a danger. And I think Moshe Rabbeinu tried to convey this to us as well. Moshe Rabbeinu says, this is in Parak Aleph Pasuk Vav, right in the beginning of the parsha, where Moshe Rabbeinu is going over just a brief outline of Jewish history. And Moshe Rabbeinu is going ahead and telling us, and how does he start? It's interesting. How does the history lesson start? Parak Aleph Pasuk Vav, chapter 1, verse 6. Hashem Elokeinu diber eleinu b'chorev lemar, Rav lochem Shabas b'harazeh. Hashem told us, Chorev is Har Sinai, told us Har Sinai, Rav lochem Shabas b'harazeh. You've had enough time sitting at this mountain. It is now time to move on. Pinu usu'u lachem ubo har amori. Move forward. So we're sitting at Har Sinai, right? And at the end, the Akash Baruch Hu says, move forward. Okay, interesting. The Lubavitcher Rebbe says something amazing. He says, what was Moshe Rabbeinu telling us? You want to thought like this: you're at Har Sinai. Givaldik, incredible. Where are you going? Where is there to move on from Har Sinai? Har Sinai was the pinnacle of accomplishment. Har Sinai is where we Kiviyachol saw the Ribono Shalom. We said Na'aseh v'nishma, the most incredible and dramatic statement of blind faith. Okay, granted, we built the Egel, but let's not get into that detail right now. Right? It was the most incredible moment of spiritual ascension. It was incredible. It was almost as if heaven and earth became one. Man and God became one, Kiviyachol. Moshe Rabbeinu goes up, brings out, incredible. See, you might have thought there's nowhere to go from there. Says the Rebbe, Moshe Rabbeinu tells us that at the end of the day, Hashem Elokeinu diber eleinu b'chorei lemar. What does the Kadosh Baruch Hu tell us? While we are at the pinnacle of spiritual growth, Rav lochem Shabas b'harazeh, don't stay in one place. Rather, pinu usu'u lachem. Move forward. Even if you have what you think reached the pinnacle of accomplishment, move forward. What's next? Never stay in place. Never, even if you've reached a great place in life, you're at Har Sinai, you can't stay there. You gotta figure out, what's the next mountain? What's the next journey? What's the next challenge? What's the next goal, dream, or aspiration? Life is always about what's next. Don't be a paro. Don't become so entrenched in your ways, even if you're in a good spot in life. Although, of course, if I'm not in a good spot in life, I gotta move myself forward. But even if you're in a good spot in life, move yourself forward. Rav lochem Shabas b'harazeh. Don't stay in one place. Pinu usu'u lachem. Move yourself forward. Don't celebrate your birthdays in life like Paro. What an incredible lesson for us to think about. And I think what an incredible gift for us to give to Ariel Bibas on his 5th birthday. This little boy, a Jewish boy, a Jewish child being held prisoner, turns 5 in his captivity. You want to know what we can do for him? We have to give him a birthday present. And what's the birthday present that we could give to little precious Ariel? Besides davening for his release together with all of our brothers and sisters each and every day, we can say to him, you know what? Sweet, tired child. You can't celebrate your birthday, but we will celebrate for you. And on this birthday of yours, what we pledge to you is Pinu lachem usu, Rav lachem Shabas. If you were home, and you would be celebrating your birthday and you would turn 5, you would be moving on to different stages in life. A 5-year-old is different than a 4-year-old, and you'd be doing something different. But alas, you are in captivity. And we do not know what you can or what you can't do. So we'll celebrate for you. We'll celebrate for you by showing ourselves and by showing the world that we will not have a birthday like Paro, where we become just more entrenched within our lives and more entrenched in who we are. But rather, again, we will heed the words of our beloved Father, of our beloved Rebbe, of our beloved teacher, of our beloved shepherd, Moshe Rabbeinu. Rav lachem Shabas b'harazeh. Wherever I am in life, even if it's in a great place, I'm not staying here. Pinu usu'u lachem. I'm going to constantly move on to bigger and better things. And in the schus of this gift to little Ariel, in the schus of this birthday present, which hopefully we are sending to this precious boy wherever he may be, in the schus of celebrating for him, what we're doing for him, what he cannot do for himself, moving forward, moving ourselves forward in life. Kadosh Baruch Hu should watch over him, the other members of his family. Kadosh Baruch Hu should watch over all of our hostages. The Rebbe Shalom should give incredible success and hatzlacha to each and every one of our precious soldiers. And we should be Zochem Yirtzeh Hashem that this war should come to a decisive end with victory for Klal Yisrael, for Am Yisrael, for Eretz Yisrael. And Halabai should just bring us so much closer to Geula, to Mashiach, to the Beis HaMikdash, Rabbi Aminu. Amen.